Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Your Ukrainian One, the podcast about Ukraine and the war in Ukraine. Today we're gonna talk about what, Lyubov?
Today we're gonna cover really tough and really huge topic. We will speak about repression that Ukrainians go through 20th century and 21st century. But for the beginning, I have an announcement that I really have to make.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes, intriguing. So, as you know, we just started our podcast and we don't have a lot of subscribers. And almost everyone who is subscribed to our channel, I personally know. And part of them is my family. And my family is listening to our podcast. And
hi family, hello family.
Yes, and I have to specify because in one of the previous episodes I said that my mom had really good marks in the university, so she had an opportunity to choose where to work. But I have to add that my dad had good marks too. Not just my mom.
Hi Luba's mom, hi Luba's dad.
I have to add it, and I can't. It is not checked information, but as my dad said, he had even better marks than my mom did. So yes, I had to add it because my dad asked me, okay, your mom had a good marks, but what about me? Okay, that.
That's amazing. Luba's dad, respect to you as well. That is amazing. I think, you were one of the best students in your studying facility. And
they were studied in Kyiv Polytechnic Institute. Yes. Okay, so the formal part is ended. Let's go to our topic. Okay, so with this mood, we will speak about repressions. It's quite strange, but yes, it is a really hard topic. And in our Ukrainian history, we are studying it at school. And actually, even without studying history at school, actually, each family in Ukraine has the story about their family, their relatives that had been under repression, had been repressed or took part in this process and was the one who did it.
Yep.
So
in any way, yeah.
Yes, there is no family in Ukraine that they didn't. Maybe someone just don't know. I mean, nowadays generations maybe because it wasn't appropriate to speak about it. And even I will tell about my case later. Even I got to know a lot of things about my family. Just, 5 years ago. So no one told me anything when I was young or when I was when I was a kid, it is more or less obvious that you won't tell your kid terrible stories, but even
good night, honey. I just imagined, good night, honey. Sleep well. By the way, your grandpa was murdered by Stalin himself.
But in general, it wasn't appropriate to speak about this terrible past And now I do understand why. And it's not about terrible thing that you don't want to tell your kids. It is about this, I don't know, about this Soviet legacy when you're always concerned about what are you saying.
Yeah, you always watch your language, what you tell, what you do not tell about the government, especially because lots of people were telling to government officials about their neighbors. They were like snitches. That was like a normal thing, snitching to your neighbor about your neighbor, like being unloyal to, unfaithful, I would say even. To the party, because it was like religion. That's why there was no religion in Soviet Union, because there was the religion of the party, and the main like president of the party, head of the party, was like a Jesus in Christianity, or Jehovah in Judaism, or something like, or like Muhammad in Islamic religions.
Yeah. So right now I do understand why, but still it's hard for me to imagine how they felt. Yes, how life was in the Soviet Union. So yeah, we have to start with some historic background. And as always, please sit calm and enjoy the historical part of this discussion.
Enjoy the fun talk about repression, killing, and
oh my God.
I don't know, restriction of the human rights, which is totally illegal and insane. But anyways, yeah, that was a fun time. Fun time. Thank God we weren't born that time, actually.
Yes. So actually, the repression started with Bolsheviks that came to our land, and I don't know how many times I've been talking about this book, but I will still talk about it. Bloody Land by Timothy Snyder, and he describes all these crimes and terrible things that were on Ukrainian land during the 20th century. Why these digits so number is so hard for me? Okay, so yes, if you want to dive deeper in this topic, you can read this book. And spoiler alert, it is really tough book to read. I couldn't make it to the end. So when Bolsheviks came, there was a lot of people who were disagree with them, and they had to do something with it. So they made a lot of organizations that supposed to I don't know how to say it, to do something with that rebel, yeah, let's say. So you heard this organization as, for example, KGB. KGB was later, but still the same thing, because it's the most known word. NKVD or ЧК or this kind of stuff. They what they did. Actually, they had a lot of goals. These organizations did a lot.
A lot of noble goals, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, for example, NKVD, it was an organization that totally managed and organized these forced deportations. For example, in 1944, the whole ethnic group of Crimean Tatarian was forced deported to Middle Asia. They just moved around 1 million of people. And they did it for 4 days. It started 18th of May and ended 21st of May, so 3 days. They just did it for 3 days. They just came to the houses and they forced people just to take whatever they can take and just I don't know how to say it. They made them to go to the railway stations, and a lot of trains moved these people. Almost 1 million of people were moved from Crimean Peninsula to the Middle Asia. And it was done on purpose because the Crimean Tatarian wasn't agree with Soviet government. And please remember, it was 1944. So it was done during the World War II. And there are a lot of stories about some Crimean Tatarians who were in the Red Army when they came back home after the war in 1946, 47, 48. So in some years, yes, in a few years after the deportation happened, can you imagine you were serving to your country, yes, you were in the army, you survived World War II, the most terrible war humanity knows so far, or knew, we'll see, and you come back home and someone else is living in your house and you have no idea where is your family.
Yeah, you come there and there is like some kind of Ivan is living already like with his wife and kids, and you are like, what the hell, guys? I was fighting for your freedom. And they are just like, well, by the way, fuck you.
So, and that they did a lot of these deportations. I mean, Soviet government, they did, and this NKVD, they did a lot of this deportations. It wasn't just Crimean Tatarian, but for us, it is the most, significant thing because it was done just for a few days and the whole ethnic group. So it was one of the I don't know, scope of job. I don't know. For example, they what they done too, and actually it is connected to my family, to my story. They when German army, when Nazi army was about to occupy Ukrainian lands, Red Army, I don't know how to say it, they ran or retreated. I don't know how to, is it a term when army goes back? I'm not sure. This term? Retreat, yes.
Retreated.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so when Red Army had to retreat, so what NKVD they done with all prisoners, they just executed all prisoners because whatever, they can collaborate with Nazi Germans, so they just killed everyone in prisons. It was done, for example, in Vinnytsia region, and
so they didn't pay attention. They didn't pay the required time to provide the justice for imprisoned people.
Oh, we are not talking about justice at all.
Like, I mean, that's what we are talking about the absence of justice, actually.
Yes.
They didn't judge, they just killed.
How that people got to the prison, had got to the prison. It wasn't about any kind of justice. And people imprisoned that time, 1941, 1940, mostly it wasn't criminals at all. It was just people who were against Soviet politics, or was against of anything connected to Soviet government, or just was a wrong ethnic group, or just said a wrong word, and someone heard this word and reported to the government. So one of such kind of prisoners was my great-granddad, Alexa, during the Red Terror. It is the term in our historical how to say, in our historical community, let's say. In Ukraine it is the term, and you can Google it even in English. The Red Terror is called all this period from early 1920s to 1950s that was happening.
That is a terror from the Soviet Party. Actually, when they started to suppress those parts of the population which were not considered loyal or integral part of USSR, as I do remember correctly.
And actually this term has two meanings. One meaning red as a red flag of Soviet Union, and red as a color of blood. And one of the most terrifying years of this Red Terror was 1937. What they have done, they just organized, it was organized this way. So you had just 3 persons in some village town, in some small villages, for example. You just had 3 people who could make a decision, who had this authority or was empowered to make a decision, and they had how to say it? They had right to execute. And yes, and this 3 people was called Troika. Like they were 3 of them, so it's Troika.
Like Trinity.
Yeah, like Trinity. Thank you. So they were looking for some information about people who were living in the village, or anyone could write them. That, for example, my neighbor said that Soviet government is bad, for example, and you could do it anonymously.
And
so
nobody would fact check that, actually.
No
they would
one
just kill them, and this one. Just grab a little one, it looks weird, grab him as well.
And the very important thing is that these troikas, these trinities, they had a plan how many people they have to execute.
So they were told, like, you have to execute this much people, and they were like, but there are no traitors, and their chiefs were like, no, you have to find these people, and they were just grabbing some innocent people, of course.
And if they don't do it, it means that they don't meet plans that was set by Soviet government. That means they are against Soviet government. That means they can be executed too.
Jeez Louise, that's like damn.
Nice system, right?
Yeah, I think it's like it is workable though.
Yes, and my great-granddad, he was a chief of a railway station in Nemirov. It is a small town in Vinnytsia region. And someone of later, actually, even his son got to know who exactly it was. One of neighbors reported to this NKVD or whoever, ЧК, that something reported about great granddad Alexa, and he was imprisoned. And actually, my family is not sure, and we don't know exactly when when he was killed, because it could be two ways. First, he could be killed in 1937 after he was got and imprisoned, and but the other way is that he could be in that prison for 4 years until Nazi came and occupied that region, and he could be killed by Red Army during their retreatment. Retreatment, right?
No, retreat.
No, it sounds.
You know what kind of
really terrible.
what sounds weird, because right now, like, retreat, it's like yoga.
Yes, for me this word is.
You're tired of your life, and then, like, you imagine a bunch of Soviet soldiers who are like retreating in terms of like a modern time, like doing yoga, drinking like some almond milk. And like breathing sunlight and so on and so forth. But basically, yeah, that is that's partially a military term, like to retreat, retrieve your troops, and so on and so forth. And this is kind of weird. And gosh, that must be horrible for those people who were living in that time, especially in particular your family, because they were just like, they knew the fact, but they just didn't know how it happened.
Yes, and
you cannot imagine even this.
It is impossible to imagine. It is really impossible to imagine. But the point is that when Nazi came, this Soviet government, they ran from Nazi. Okay, let's put it this way, and they killed all people who were in prison, and they they left them in a huge. Is this a brother grave? You know, they left them in a huge brother.
In Ukrainian, we call that
the brother grave.
Yes. It included sisters as well, but it's like 40s sexism and so on and so forth.
It means that a lot of people were in one grave. So if
they just didn't bother like doing the proper funeral or any funeral. At least they were just throwing bodies into a pit and covering it with the gravel and dirt. That's what happened, and then it was romanticized as the brother's grave or something like that, which is insane. This is like just bodies who were thrown to the pit.
One hole, yeah.
And they didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves this.
Yes, and then when Nazi came and they occupied this territory, they wanted to show to civilians that they are better than Soviet army, and they opened that graves, and they led civilians and people to go and find their relatives. And
what's the point? If you have to show people that you are better than somebody else, then you are not better.
It was their way to do it. And my great grandmother, she went there and she recognized her husband by some clothes that she made for him, by some specific thing on these clothes. So I don't know when he was killed, but he was killed from 1937 to 1941. And I got to know this story really around, 4 years ago. So no one,
no one
discussed it.
This is not
in
really
our
a
family.
bedtime story or something like that, or story to tell on
it is-
celebration. Let me tell you a story how I recognized your grandpa, who, by the way, were killed.
No, I mean, it is a family story. It is story of the family. But what I mean, and actually, later, this Olexa, great granddad, he was claimed by Soviet government as an enemy of the nation. It was a term in Soviet period, vrag народа, enemy of the nation. And my granddad, Vasil, my mom's dad, he was a child of the enemy of the nation. And all this family was relatives of the enemy of the nations. So my granddad, when he was 16, he had to stand up in front of whole school, in front of whole students, and say loudly that he is not
denounce
yes,
his father, right?
He denounced. It was the only way how my grandpa could got an education that day.
So each day, right? Every day he had to do this?
No, just once, and he wasn't alone. A lot of his, such students, such teens, right, children who had someone in their family who were claimed that they are enemy of the nation, and they had to stand up to say that to make this. I don't know how to say it. To make the announcement, they had to say that they don't have fathers and mothers anymore because they are enemy of the nation.
Is there any record if somebody would refuse to do that? We can only think what would happen, but are there any records for like abusing the children?
Of course, you are not allowed to go to school anymore. You are not allowed to have a job or anything like this.
Jeez. It's like, and you cannot escape to some other country because country.
Yeah,
so
because it is closed country.
You're closed in hell kind of stuff. Which is insane. It is like, each time you have to raise the stakes in terms of denouncing some actions from the population. It's always an easy way. Just involve their kids, which is like it is impossible. It is insane. It's inhumane.
I really think a lot about unfortunately I was born after my grandpa died, so I didn't have an opportunity to speak to him about it, to ask anything about it, but I'm trying to imagine how to live with this and how to perceive yourself. Even actually, I do know that in 1970s, I guess my mom told that my grandpa had really great career in. And he was really valuable person. Once he even was, I don't know, can I translate it in English? But he was even offered to be one of the ministries of Ukrainian Soviet Republic. So in one sphere, I don't know how to say it, but he was a head of
he was
China
offered an appointment,
yes, he was offered an appointment. He was in a party because you couldn't be in a party and have such kind of
you just have to be in the party to get the job.
Yes. You can't be. He was a chief of China factory, and it is impossible to have this position and not to be in a party. So of course,
Chief of ceramics factory or
ceramics.
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, if you have such kind of position, KGB is always watching you. And I even wanted to find his records about it in our archives, but I didn't do it. The war started, yes. So it is a really interesting story. But as my mom told me, in 1970s, something like this, he managed to make rehabilitation for his debt. It was a small period of time when you could, write an application and the authority will say,
to clear his biography, right?
Yeah,
he was like, he could appeal to some kind of court, like, and
it wasn't a court, but yeah, some kind
not the court with the judge, but court of people who would decide was he an enemy or not, and then they would decide, that he's not he's not traitor.
He's not an enemy of the nation. So it was a thing, actually, this rehabilitation process, because I don't know if you know, when Soviet Union collapsed, it was a huge process that took few years. A lot of people made applications about their relatives, and it was this to rehabilitate them. They wasn't an enemies of the nation. And my mom and we were in our local small town museum once. And we found a lot of this, mountains of these applications of people who were, it was, for example, it was written that my family, my grandmother, surname, and they were moved to Bila Cerkva, and their house, 60 meters square, was how to say it, wasn't there anymore, and they lost their house, their cow, and a horse, and they was moved to Bila Cerkva as enemy of the nation.
Not that bad of a place to be sent, actually.
Without anything.
But
in 1937,
confiscation of the private property, it's a know-how of Soviet Union, because there wasn't private property at all. So the family of the guy I knew was several times Soviet government took their property, took their farm. They were farmers, and several times they took their farm because they were too rich, kind of stuff, and they moved them to another city and another republic of Soviet states, and then they would again create a farm, start to grow rich, and then the local police, local guys would come and take their property away and tell that they are becoming too rich and move them to another part of USSR. There was 3 or 4 times it happened to them.
Wow. Oh gosh. And that kind of rich, let's say rich, it's they just were a bit wealthier,
rich in terms of Soviet Union. That means that you can eat cheese every day.
Every day. Sorry, you have to understand that you won't find cheddar or something like this in Soviet Union. You will find that cheese that Soviet can produce. So you just can afford this cheese. You just
because
can't
it's
afford it.
non-existent. You don't even know that it exists, actually.
Yeah, because not everyone could afford it, so yes. And actually this such kind of wealthy, let's say, people, it was a term, they were called kurkuli.
Yeah, and kurkuli, and the process of taking the property away from these people was called расkurкуливание. So that means unkurkul the family.
Oh my God, dekurkulization.
Dekurkulization, yeah, also a term, also possible. Because I don't know, do you know the etymology of this word, kurkul? Because I don't know, and I still didn't find it.
I didn't find it too. I don't know about kurkuli, but it's actually Ukrainian term, as I know. It connects with some ancient Ukrainian words that we maybe don't know. But I do know that the other term was bourgeois. And bourgeois is from French Revolution, that they were fighting with bourgeois that were.
Yeah, that was French. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, so yes, you see, there are a lot of these stories, and actually, this I really understand that. The word humanism really didn't exist in during Soviet period, because they never was care about their people and people at all. Even if this person is, I don't know, do everything right, this person is still can be imprisoned or executed, or can be anything. You were in no position was safe position. Even worldwide known, famous Serhiy Koroliov, who is Ukrainian, who were born in Zhytomyr, and everyone knows him as a father of space travel, and who made Sputnik, yes, the first artificial satellite that was sent to cosmos. He was. He made it. He made it happen that Yuri Gagarin went to cosmos, right? So, and even he was repressed, and even he was imprisoned in 1938, and he was sent to sort of GULAG, something like concentration camp, or it was called this GULAG. It was called as a correctional labor camp. Something. It was called like.
Yeah, but if we will translate it from Soviet official, this is the place where you die.
Yeah, actually, yes, where you are tortured and you will really likely you will die. Yeah, so he was there on Kolyma for 6 years. For 6 years.
And still survived.
Yeah, and still survived, and still he did this cool stuff, but once someone decided that he is against Soviet government and just imprisoned him.
Well, maybe he was, because that.
Maybe he was.
What is consistent is the eagerness of Soviet apparatus, the governors, to receive the perks from intelligent people, receive all what they can provide, and then just make them vanish. whether kill or sent to Gulag, as soon as they are not able to, because you cannot invent all the time, right? It is more like insight. It is more like inspiration. But when you do not provide new technology, they will like, okay, this one can be sent to Gulag because he's not providing that level of technology which we require right now, which is actually happening. Which is actually happening in modern world, but in terms of the market economy, in terms of the competition, it doesn't involve like losing a life, right? Because there it was like you better invent or you die. Right now, right now it's like you whether invent and get money, or you do not invent and you do not as much money. You do not get as much money as you could. That's what the difference between Soviet Union and modern times.
Oh, yes, and in Soviet time, no one heard about fair competition on the market, so...
No, non-existent, no competition, no. Only party,
and only political and public terror, that's everything they knew, because Koroliov was in prison by some political accusation. I don't remember exactly, but he was something like truth. It won't be understandable. He was he liked Trotsky, the main opponent of Stalin, and actually Stalin killed Trotsky in the end, as I recall. Maybe I'm wrong here because I don't remember.
When he have sent Koroliov to Gulag, that was like kind of a plea deal, mostly, because it's like, well, it's better than death. Right?
Yeah, actually.
To have a different political view from your governor. What?
It's hard to imagine, seriously. It's really hard to imagine. But they actually, in Kovida and Cheka, one of their goals was, this destruction of intelligent people as in general, because everything started with, as we discussed before, this killed Renaissance in 1920s. Yes, these all poets, writers,
Ukrainian speaking poets and writers, right?
Yeah, Ukrainian speaking, but even non-Ukrainian speaking poets and writers were just killed. All intelligent people who was able to think and was able to say that this is insane. What are you doing? Communism won't work. It is insane. Everyone who could say it, who could think about it, who could somehow express it, everyone were killed or died from starvation, or died in Gulag, or tortured. Oh, no other options they had. Some of them managed to leave the country. That's why we have a lot of waves of, we call it wave of diasporas, Ukrainian diasporas. It was 5 or 6 so far. We are 6, as I remember. Yes, waves of immigrations. But it's just few of them really could run. Just few. Millions. In Gulag, it was more than 6 million people. 6 million people was in different gulags. And it wasn't just Ukrainians. And actually, as I remember correctly, they started this gulag system in 1934. And Germans even took this idea for their concentration camps.
to become inspiration for Nazis, for German Nazis. Check. You can take this point in your bullet list. Yeah, which is extremely hard. It is like, well, I'm sure that in modern history you can find a lot of injustice as well, and actually, if you will think like more deep into the political systems, any political system is not livable. They all have their own flaws and minuses and cons and so on and so forth. But there is I think, no political system which is like officially allowed to kill people just because they decide that they are fuck. This is the description of every political system. Cut. Yeah, that is like really, really, really insane situations. Mostly all of those were targeted to Ukraine.
Yes, and why we are speaking about it, because these organizations, they actually still exist, but yes, they transformed, they changed their names, but if you think about it, Soviet government, what they have done, yes, they killed all intelligence. People who survived these repressions, actually, a lot of them even couldn't read or write properly. Yeah, we are talking about early 20th century. A lot of them really never finished even school. So you have a person who are killing other people to survive in this system. And if this person survives, how will this person will teach their kids how to survive, how to live? What morality this person will give to kids? Definitely the same, yes.
You know what? I think the target was to make people unable to provide any morale to their kids, and to make the party main morale influencer and main like parent. It would be your mother and father, the party, kind of.
No, I mean the, okay, not the quality. I mean that this system really created this Soviet person, dehumanized, without any morality, without any trust, So and these people were working in at schools, in libraries, and this even KGB and KVD offices. These people.
And this is kind of demonization, little bit, because they were providing proper morale, like you cannot steal, you have to work, and so on and so forth. So those were not demons. Those were like just suppressed personalities, and they had their own morale. But they couldn't express their morale to others, but they could have that.
It is morale, like you can steal and so on and so forth, was after the war. But if we are speaking about what was before the war, right? So it was hard to speak about any morality, and I just want to specify and to show that how people was suppressed, and for them it was a new norma, that you can be caught, or you can be killed, or you have to kill because you will be killed, or you have to do whatever it takes. If you jealous to a neighbor, you just can go to specific place to write an application, and they will take this neighbor tomorrow, and you won't ever see him. You just can't do it.
You're talking about the creation of the proper motivation of the people, for the people actually, because you create, like party has created the environment for people, and they would act according to that environment. If it is a violent environment, they would be violent, right? And snitching and so on and so forth.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. As always, your expressions is more understandable than mine. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That what I mean. And if we look at repressions after the war, I touched it. Actually, it transformed and changed. But it was still executions, and people were in prisons. But now they made, they made this fruit, let's say, and in each aspect of your life, somewhere you're aware that KGB is watching, everywhere you could find someone from KGB. And my mom even okay, and my dad told that they had, I don't know, a head of the class, or it's not a head of a class. I don't know, maybe do some other schools have this system when one student in a class is a head of this class, like starosta, we called it starosta.
It's like best boy.
Yeah.
Or best girl.
Yeah, best boy or best girl. This starosta, this head of a class, supposed to communicate with with other teachers on behalf of the class or something like this. But the first point what they had to do, for example, in universities, they had to go to KGB office. They had interviews there, and you can't be this head of the class if KGB didn't approve you, and you have to monitor to watch your classmates, and if anyone says something bad about Soviet government, or if someone do something bad, or if you think that someone is unreliable person, you have to report to KGB because you are head of a class.
Yeah, people had to ensure the authorities that they are reliable all the time, actually. Because this term, it even has in some, it has like quite widespread appearance even in different cultural activities. Because in films, there is there is a quite widespread term like reliable. You can rely on this person, you can count on that person. That was like in the mentality, accountability for your action, which is actually not a bad thing to have, to be accountable for your actions, which is actually really grown up thing. But we need to understand that the terms, the understanding of this word was a little bit different. So you are responsible for your actions in front of your party. which is the only party available. There is no choice.
Yes, and you have to do everything to show that you are with the party, in the party is the best, and so on and so forth. And this sort of KGB agents was even on factories, on different. Even in schools, factories, hospitals, everywhere, it was so-called fast department, where KGB agents or related to KGB people worked, and they just been watching other people.
Department number 1.
Yes, department.
Right?
Yeah. Первый отдел. Yeah, department number 1 or first department. Yes, it was called department number 1 in any factory, in any workplace, and they just have been watching the other people. And if you are saying something wrong, you are behaving that someone think that it's not appropriate from this department, it was okay to go and to report to your colleague that I heard yesterday he said that Lenin was terrible. Goodbye, colleague. And yeah, maybe they never killed.
So basically, rules haven't changed.
Yes.
The understandings of these rules have changed, actually, because, well, as they say, snitches got stitches.
Yes, and people were afraid, to behave as they want to behave. And even actually, one of really interesting things that you said in the beginning, that there was no church in Soviet Union, no religion. Yes, but it was Soviet Union was atheistic country, but they still had an Orthodox church, and actually Stalin in 1943, actually Stalin set that church again. Why I'm saying again? Because when Bolsheviks came, they started to ruin all churches, Orthodox, and they said you can't believe in God. So there is no God, and they were all atheistics, and they destroyed all churches. And as a result, during the war, they were looking for something to inspire people and soldiers, and they decided, okay, let it be, let's make this church for them. If they want to pray before the battle or something like this, okay, let it be. But this church was made by KGB. And of course, it was, as a department from KGB. And actually, still, in Ukraine, still, there are churches that are under Moscow Patriarch. And even one of the small church in my hometown, in the middle of nowhere, police found a lot of weapons in this church in my small hometown, and they caught a priest from this church that was, is it a term, like he collaborated with Russians?
Collaborators. He was a collaborator with Russian army right now in
Right now,
2022.
yes, right now. He was caught in first weeks of the invasion happened.
True. So he had one religion, USSR.
FSB, yeah, FSB.
Or FSB, Federal Secret Service.
But right now,
Security Service. Sorry.
But actually, KGB and FSB, it is the same stuff because they just renamed in 1991. They just renamed. They just changed 3 letters for other 3 letters. But all their organizations, all their agencies, they will still remain the same, the Soviet. And they still live this way and they still do this stuff. If we are talking about forced deportation, they do it now in Ukraine. They force deported Ukrainian people from occupied territories to Russia.
From occupied Mariupol, they started to deport people to Russia territory because they were afraid that there was such a rhetoric in newspapers and media that if you are bringing peace and saving people, as you say, you are saving Russian-speaking people, why there are no people who are fleeing to Russia? Mm-hmm. The people were not fleeing to Russia because they don't want to be in Russia and to be a part of Russia. So they started to deport people from Mariupol, where people had no choice. It's whether you are bombed or you are deported to Russia, because they wouldn't let our soldiers to create humanitarian corridor, as they call it, to let people move away from the war. They wouldn't let it happen. So they started to deport people to Russia. So they can now tell that there is such amount of people moved to Russia. Yeah, but they didn't want to. They were forcefully. They didn't have any other choice.
And they was just grabbed.
Because you took their choice. They just couldn't. Of course, when there is a choice between, this is like false choice. Like, girl, do you want to go to the countryside or to somebody for somebody to rip your head off? Of course, the choice is obvious. I want to go to countryside.
Even it was without any choice. They just grabbed people and moved them to Rostov region or something, or whatever. I guess it was to Rostov region where Red Cross wanted to deploy there. Okay.
Well, as I know, they did open the office there, and that was predictable that they will start to deport people to Russia from their home, from their place of living, because that's what they do.
And now they're saying sending Ukrainian kids to the adoption process. They just take away kids from parents. They are doing this terrible stuff that they were done it in 1930s. Come on.
So they are trying to cover their traces, to cover their steps and their asses. So they would have it as an option in Hague court or in any other international court. But actually, evidence are collected from both sides, and international community is let known about this situation, which is, you cannot imagine even this happening, even in 21st century. This is it was supposed, I was deemed to consider it impossible, but it is possible, and it is such a throwback from those democracies, those freedoms which we had before. It is such a throwback that I am not sure whether will we be able, in closest decades, will we be able to get well from this situation. I think it's we need like several generations to pass, so we would be able to live healthy life without any like psychological problems, without any problems with the perception, and so on and so forth. Those are broken lives.
Yes,
That's
and forever.
what important to remember. Yeah, forever. You cannot, you can assist them in their living, make their life more easy to live in such situation, but
you won't ever
you
be
broke a person.
You won't ever be the same if you survived Bucha or Borodyanka or Mariupol or Kherson region or any of these cities. You won't be the same. And this terror that they did in Bucha, it is the same terror that they done in 1937. It is the same. This political terror that they were doing in their country with their people, it is the same. These agencies, KGB equal FSB, they still the same. So I was always asking myself, in what year does Russians live? And now I do understand, in 1930s, but they just forgot that there is an internet and satellites and actually the world.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of media, like two nerds as we are, could like just start their podcasts and talk about their reality.
They are doing it online. They're shooting their territory, then say that Ukraine have done it, but actually all satellites saw that they have done it. So why?
Well, this is kind of crazy. It is like a victim blaming, actually. Well, we bomb Ukraine and then we will blame it on Ukraine. It is like blaming the girl who went through the terror of rape, right? And tell, well, she behaved herself as a whore. That's why she was raped. No, she was raped because it, like, the guy who did it is the monster and demon. That's why. Not because like she was behaving something like bad. This is a great analogy to understand, because people are like, it's all about perception, you know. Still, nevertheless, Ukraine was going to NATO. Russia started to do the narrative about that. Well, if they wouldn't go to NATO, we wouldn't attack. No, you would still attack. They would still attack, because you know, this has nothing to do with NATO or any opportunities for Ukraine to develop. This is about the abusing country.
And yes, you're right, because I don't want all of this conversation would sound like, oh my God, we are so pure Ukrainians and Russia just hate us, just killing us during whole our life. They're doing it with all other countries too. It's not just about Ukraine, because they've done the same with the actually correct name, Ichkeria, not Chechnya. In Chechnya, it was the same. In Georgia, it was the same. In Moldova, Pridnestrovia region, the same. Everywhere where Russians are going, they care just terror and destruction. That's everything and lies. That's everything they have for the world. And that Russia that you know, with great literature and ballet and so deep history and the culture, doesn't exist. it exists only in your imaginations, because
it's all PR trick.
It's all PR, because real Russia don't even know how bathroom looks like. That middle, let's call it Russia, or far from Moscow Russia. They don't really care about, I don't know, humanism, human rights, democracy, or anything else. They just care about how to survive in that system that never changed from Soviet Union. And this system is centralized, and there is only one person who are making decision. And if you think that can convince, for example, some Lavrov or anyone else, and he will convince Putin, no, it won't be. It is the same like convince Molotov to convince Stalin. No, Stalin did just everything on his own and made all decisions. And unfortunately, even if we wake up tomorrow and Putin dies, nothing will change, nothing, because they still have this system, and still some other Putin. Putin is not the same. It is, it is their system, and someone else will come and will see that, wow, I can be ahead of this huge system. Nothing, unfortunately, will change until such kind of Russia still exists.
Unfortunately.
And unfortunately, Ukraine will be in danger until this Russia exists. Georgia, Baltic countries, Poland, whole world.
Well, considering their Russian recent rhetorics, then Poland is also unsafe because they start to send some mixed messages about Poland and so on and so forth, which is kind of disturbing, I would say, because they seem to move forward to the West, which is like insane. Well, insane is the proper term for all of this, what is happening.
It is not Russia like Russia, it is insania, you know?
Yep, currently it is. And I am sure there are freedom fighters inside Russia. I want to believe that there are some freedom fighters inside the country, and I really, really hope that they just do their job.
I don't believe in it. Because I don't believe in it, because I don't know, maybe I just don't know yet, but I don't know any examples in history of these Russian rebels, you know, because that movement that we had during, Ukraine had during Soviet time and during Soviet repressions, actually they made it. They destroyed that Soviet government, and they destroyed their country, and actually they made it. They made it to gain independent Ukraine, and our movement was feeble. And yes, they've gone through a lot of stuff. That Ruch in middle 70s. Oh, actually, good idea. It is good idea and good topic about Ukrainian movements during Soviet Union. Good idea. Thank you.
Wow, further podcasts are coming.
Yeah, right now.
Further podcasts are coming, yeah.
Yeah, it's burning right now. Yeah, so unfortunately, we have this hard future, and but thanks to our knowing of history, we can be prepared, and we can do our best. And yes, we will win because Ukraine always wins.
I'm still leaning towards the bright future with the development, with all of the peculiarities of modern world, and trying to run in really fast from the old days technology, including the social customs and so on and so forth. So I still do think that it is possible. We can develop and we can go further within our pursuit of the new opportunities.
No doubts, and actually there is no other options. There is no other option. We have only one way. It is victory and further development. We don't have any other way because otherwise our country won't exist. So.
Oh yeah. So, Lyubov, what is the word of the day today?
Okay. I've been thinking a lot. Actually, I haven't think at all about it, and I want to say how we call our Ukrainian sign. I don't know this word in English. Okay, I will say and you will translate. What is it? Trezub. And I hope you will show the
Trident.
It is our herb.
Yeah, it's our national symbol.
Oh,
national symbol.
Yes, I wanted to teach this word trezub because actually this national sign have 1,000 years existed for 1,000 years, and from this sign. And from that time, our nation started. So it is sort of really symbolic for us. And we're really proud of it. And I really like how it looks like. And
yeah, it looks very powerful and magnificent. I would say it's kind of like little bit mystical because all of those meanings about the Trinity, the three aspects of personality, three emanation of God, and so on and so forth. So this is very, very mystical and mystics in our nature and all of the magical forces and so on and so forth. We do as Ukrainians, most of Ukrainians do believe in such a way, in one or another way, into some mystical creatures and mystical mystical world, I would say. So this is a good explanation why lots of Ukrainians are spiritual and spiritually mature people. So yeah, trezub, trident.
Yes.
This is the word of the day.
And so thank you everyone who are listening to us. Please subscribe to our channel. Please like this video. Please leave a comment. Please tell us what is interesting for you. Maybe you have some topics you want us to discuss. And don't forget that in the description box down below, there are some links to organizations that we are donating to that organization. They are helping to our army, to our civilians, even for animals. So please consider, maybe you will join and donate too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that would be nice. God loves you, we love you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.